Hey YouTube, Ryu here. I just ended up going ahead and listening to a bunch of music from when I was a kid and just kind of progressing all the way through. And no, I didn't listen to every song, but something ended up striking me, and that was actually the amount of power that music has on a person, like the different emotions that it can invoke. Not necessarily the emotions that the song is about, but what was going on at the time in your life. Like when I was a teenager, I listened to a lot of Good Charlotte, and I just went through it. I was listening to some of the songs. My favorite two is Hold On and Bloody Valentine. I know, very, very different tones there, but the thing is as I was listening to those, I could almost see the memories attached to it. You know, I was kind of reliving the things that were going on in my life at that point, both positive and negative. But, I mean, we all have those things. Like, we know that smell can really trigger memories. We know that the sense of touch can trigger memories, and so on and so forth. But the thing is with music, it's one of those things that just kind of operates in the background, and we don't really pay too much attention to it. Some people do. But if you actually stop and take the time, it's an amazing thing. And the thing is the experience is different for everyone. You know, different songs hold different meanings for different people. Like, I mean, for example, Bloody Valentine is about a guy going ahead and stalking this girl, getting overly jealous, of the boyfriend because he wants to be with her so fucking bad, but he's very obviously mentally disturbed, and so he ends up killing the boyfriend, calling her, that sort of thing. Very dark song, you know. The tone of the music does not match the darkness of that song in any way, shape, or form. It's very much so a jarring song, but jarring in a good way. It's one of those ones where at first you're listening to it. At first you think, all right, Bloody Valentine, what the fuck, oh, it's so edgy, and then all of a sudden it goes into him like ripping the guy's throat out, and it's all like it says that right at the beginning, but you're all like, okay, well, again, maybe it's an analogy, but then it goes on and on and on, and you're like, oh shit. I remember that oh shit moment when I first listened to it, but the thing is, I love the actual music of it so much. I absolutely love the song. But I mean, during that time span in my life, I was smoking weed. I had kind of hit rock bottom. But it was also some of the funnest times of my life. Teen years. I mean, oh, what a shock. The teen years were the funnest part of my life. But I then started thinking about how music affects us on the day-to-day. Like, even if we've never heard a song before, how much it can actually affect us. Like, if we're watching a movie or if we're playing a video game. And I thought about it, and I was all like, you know what, how about this? I'm going to go ahead. I already have emotions attached to a specific scene in history, in video gaming history. I'm going to go ahead, and I am going to turn the volume all the way down, and I'm going to watch the scene where Aeris gets killed. And then I'm going to watch it with the music and see what the difference is. A world of difference happened. When it was silence, it was all like, yeah, that sucks, whatever. But then as soon as the music is in on it and the sound of the materia plinking along the ground, in that slow motion, I don't know, it has so much more impact at that point. And then I started thinking about, action games. It's all like, how epic would those scenes be if you didn't have that awesome music going on in the background? I mean, there's some games that don't have music going on in the background. It's just the sound of the combat and that sort of thing. But a lot of it, there's music in the background. Is it mostly drowned out by the sounds of the battlefield to the point to where that's not in the forefront of your mind is the music? Yes, but it still has an effect. And it has a very major effect. And so then I started thinking, you know what? Maybe it's, the lyrics that are going on. And then I thought about it, I'm like, no, it can't be that, because a lot of the stuff is orchestral in video games. There's no real voices to it. I mean, some of the most epic ones have vocals in there. Take, the Dragonborn theme, for example. That's a big one. It's very famous, and you've seen a lot of memes come from it based on the music. Like the guy that ended up protecting his sister or girlfriend or what the fuck ever from two other girls that were literally beating the shit out of him, and in here he comes and just boom. It's like that wouldn't have been as epic without that music going on. The person who did that definitely understands that, at least on a subconscious level. But then I started thinking about it. I'm all like, as music has progressed, and as it's become grander and so on and so forth, more complex. I'm not saying that old music wasn't complex. I mean, because that's demonstrably wrong. But I mean, as it's gotten, more bass, more vitality to it, in your common everyday music, not just classical music, I've noticed that a lot of companies have also started realizing this. So, from now on, whenever I'm talking about a video game, whether it's good or bad, I'm probably going to be bringing up the music score in it, or at the very least, the sounds that are associated with it. Because there's some games that, if they didn't do such a good job with their soundboard, not even necessarily the music, I mean, yeah, the music, like I said, the music plays a big part, it invokes a lot of emotion and so on and so forth. But then just basic sound, like the Resident Evil games, the sounds are, as the sounds have evolved, the game's refined. It's not just in a graphics way, and you've got these games that are, these absolute brutal games, very visceral and that sort of thing, but if, the music's drowning out all the other sounds, or if they don't put a specific sound for a specific thing other than someone going, it doesn't have as much impact. But when you hear that visceral sound of something stabbing into flesh, or flesh ripping, or bone cracking, it just adds so much more to it. The same thing with, with scenes where sword fights are going. The visceral sound of that metal clashing against metal. Metal clashing and scraping against armor or a shield. Or, plunging through it. And then hearing, the different layers of everything. And I'm focusing a little on combat there, but that's because it's the easiest one to really do. There's more nuanced things. But I've noticed that the games that tend to draw me in more have a good soundboard. Like, they can have worse graphics but a better soundboard and will be more engaging to me. And I'm not even an audiophile. I'm not one of those people that listens to tons and tons and tons of music. In fact, if you were to look at my playlist, you'd sit there and go, wow, this is kind of sparse. But what are your thoughts? I mean, honestly, let's open up a discussion about this. Like, how much have you noticed music or sounds affecting you whenever you're viewing a media or you're playing a video game, something like that? Because I think that might be my main reason for liking animes better than manga. Even though technically the mangas have a more robust story, a more complete story. They fill out their characters, and the mangas always go longer than the anime, but that's because usually the anime's there to get people to buy the manga. But I think that might be the reason. And so, like, I don't know. I like, and it would be really hard to pace a manga to, you know, some random soundtrack or something like that. So, what are your thoughts? Why, like, what was that moment where you realized how much sound affects you? If you've had that moment. If you haven't, I suggest you actually look into it, and it'll blow your mind. But also, like, what musical score holds the most emotional weight for you? It doesn't have to be from a movie. It doesn't have to be from a video game. Just what song has the most emotional weight for you? I mean, if you have multiple songs, by all means, list them. Who knows? Maybe I'll find it. Maybe I'll go ahead and look them up, and maybe I'll end up liking it. Maybe you'll have introduced me to a new song that I can add to my little sparse library. But like for me, there's a bunch of stuff where the song itself isn't all that great, but the emotion that it invokes is absolutely fantastic, and so I can't stop listening to it. And I mean, like Smash Mouth. You know, Smash Mouth is good, don't get me wrong. But the thing is their music, I mean, if you're really looking at it from an artistic perspective, is very basic and kind of pedestrian. And so the thing is why does Smash Mouth have so much meaning to a lot of people? I mean, at least specific songs from Smash Mouth. It's because it was in media, or the song was released during a certain event in their life, whether it be positive or negative. Maybe it helped them through a hard time. Maybe, you know, a song released and they heard it right after getting engaged, and, you know, so on and so forth. Again, that could be a positive or a negative. But I want to know. Go ahead, let me know down in the comments. And that's for anyone. I don't care if you're a subscriber, if you're a person that just randomly stumbled across this video in a late YouTube binge and you're like, oh, what the hell's up with this fucker? I'm going to listen to this fat fuck talk for a little bit. Honestly, open discussion. Go ahead and let me know. I'm actually curious about this, because I know I'm not the only one that this affects. I mean, I've seen videos to this effect before, but it's one of those conversations that usually doesn't come up in a normal scene. It's something that you end up having to just kind of blurt it out there and let people run with it. So that's what I'm doing right here. Have a good night, everyone. I'll talk to you later. Have a good night.